There we go. Now you can see me. Kind of, sort of. Hang on. All right. There. Now you can see me for real. All right. Hello and welcome to today's Marketing Monday. It is officially December. As I record this, it is December 2nd. That means the end of the year is basically here. I mean, we'll all be celebrating New Year's before we know it. So that means it is time to reflect and look back on 2024, what worked, what didn't, what changes did we see. And of course, the big thing is AI, which I don't love talking about because it seems like it's all anyone can talk about. And for a while, it was pretty boring, but I do think it made some interesting strides this year, right? So 2023, we all thought was going to be the year of AI because that was, ChatGPT had just been launched, right before 2023 started. So we were all like, oh no, this is the end of marketing as we know it. And of course, it was not the end of marketing as we know it. AI, I compare it to a baby, right? It was just starting to crawl in 2023, right? And then in 2024, I think it got up on its chubby little legs and actually started walking around all over our marketing strategies, right? So this is the year that I think we did see not a ton of disruption, but definitely some disruptions coming in 2025 for sure, I would bet. So what did we see? First and foremost, I have a friend who calls herself an AI armchair expert, which means she has become an expert, according to her, on spotting AI generated content. And if you know me, you know I don't call it AI generated content because AI does not generate anything. It scrapes content that already exists and just repurposes it for us into something it thinks we want to see. So I call it AI repurposed content or AI regurgitated content because that's all it's doing. So it's getting easier. I mean, actually, I think it's getting harder for people to spot AI generated content, AI regurgitated content. But it's because AI is getting better, but we're also getting smarter because we see this content everywhere, right? And especially if we've been following for someone for a while online, we know when something sounds like them and we know when something does not sound like them. And when it's very obvious that they used AI, especially if they're not using AI strategically. I am all for helping AI, using it to help you come up with ideas, using it to help you write a rough draft or an outline. Or you dump your thought. One of my favorite ways to use AI actually is just dumping your thoughts into it. This is what I want to talk about. Clean it up for me. Turn it into a blog post for me. That's great because then you are still incorporating your perspective. And I'll talk a little bit more about this later. But you get your expertise, your perspective into that content. That's what's going to position you as a thought leader in your industry. That's what's going to make that content really shine and really valuable. And that way you're giving it to AI. So it's not scraping content from elsewhere online. It's using the content you gave it and just repurposing it for you. AI is great at that. I have also seen the opposite happen, though, in terms of spotting AI generated content. I have seen at least one person, I don't want to say accuse. I don't think she was trying to accuse a friend of mine of using AI, but it kind of came off that way where she just assumed the content was AI generated. And my friend was like, no, I wrote that content. And I find that really interesting because normally if that happens, my assumption would be the person creating content isn't creating good, unique, original content or they don't have a strong brand voice. So it's not obvious when they're talking versus when a robot is talking for them. But I know this person. I know that's not the case. I know she does have a really strong brand voice. She is consistently creating good, thoughtful, useful content, updating us on what's new in her industry, providing tips and tricks and resources. She's awesome. It's really obvious to me, at least, that it's not AI generated content, which then leads me to wonder about this person's perspective. Is it because they use AI to create content a whole lot? So they just assume everyone else is doing the same thing? Is it because they've seen so much content that is obviously AI regurgitated that they just assume that it's AI, that all the content or most of the content they see, maybe their default is to assume that it's AI repurposed, AI regurgitated? I don't know, but I do think it's interesting that we are, I think it's expected that a lot of us would go, oh yeah, that's AI content. Okay, I can tell the difference. So it was really funny to me to watch it go the other way around when someone assumed it was AI generated, AI regurgitated, and it was not. So what? What does this mean for us? People who understand the importance of consistently communicating in their brand voice will figure out how to use AI to help them with parts of the content creation process rather than just completely offloading it onto, a robot that doesn't know the difference between glue and edible pizza toppings. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, look it up. It's hilarious. So yes, you can and should use AI. A lot of what we've seen people using AI for successfully is things like automation, data analysis, all this stuff that robots are really good at. It's not really good at creating content, especially if it doesn't have that baseline of reality that we have. So in general, like I said, you are better off using AI with some parts of the content creation process, but it's really good at the automation, the data analysis. That's where it really shines. Let it do that part. And I mean, from my perspective, at least, I know a lot of people love crunching numbers. I am not one of those people. I would much rather let AI handle that part while I focus on the writing, the creative part of my job. So as far as, what does this mean? It means the people who use who use AI effectively to create thoughtful, strategic content will get results. And the people who just use AI to spit out content because they can, and they think it's a matter of quantity over quality, it is not. They're going to create a bunch of content and they're not going to get results from it. And they're either going to throw up their arms and say content marketing doesn't work, or AI can't be used in content marketing. And neither of those things is true. Content marketing can be very effective when used correctly. AI can be effective in parts of the content creation process, but you cannot just completely offload that task onto AI. It's not going to work. Next thing we saw, AI continues to be hilarious, right? We've all seen photos of people with too many hands or hands in places that they can't physically be if they're attached to the person we're supposed to assume they're attached to. Hilarious. I saw an image the other day with a woman standing in the rain, and there's an umbrella above her, and the stand of the umbrella is going through her head because AI thinks that that's totally normal. AI does not have the same basis of reality that we have. So this stuff is going to keep happening. A less famous example. So I was recently asking Google about Edward VII when he reigned in England, and the dates it gave me, I was like, I know that's not right. What are you talking about? And I eventually realized that it had given me Edward's birth date and the date he died instead of his coronation date and the date he died. So it said his reign was way longer than it was when it was really just a few years. So hilarious, right? And obviously that was obvious to me that was wrong, but that would not be obvious to everyone. So always check your AI answers. Be careful when using AI to generate content for you. Like I said, use it to help you create an outline, brainstorm ideas, organize information for you, but don't use it to just flat out write content for you. And if you do, at the very least, check it for accuracy, brand relevance, brand voice guidelines. You got to have all of that in there. And yes, AI is getting better at incorporating those things. And the more you use it, the more it will learn your voice. But it's still not quite there. AI search. Now, this is where we're going to see the most disruption, definitely in 2025. We're kind of already seeing this in 2024. So people started using ChatGPT as a search engine, like as soon as it was released. And then we were like, well, that's not good because ChatGPT provides wrong answers literally 50% of the time. I'm not saying like, oh, about half the time, just because I'm throwing that out there. I'm saying that because studies have found that it gives wrong answers 50% of the time. I'm not pulling that out of my butt. So you got to be careful about that. And there was in the initial ChatGPT, there was no way to reference and look up like, okay, where did you get this information? Now there is Search GPT, which is designed as a search engine, and it does provide references. So now we get to look at what's going on there, how this is changing the way people look for information online, how people if and when people click through to a website to get more information. So that's really interesting. I did write a whole other blog post about that, and there's a whole other video about that. So I'm not going to get too much into that right now as far as like, what does it all mean? It means it's changing the way people are looking for information, is essentially what it means. So there's also a really good post if you want to check out by Andy Crestodina over on his website, Orbit Media. Definitely check that out, because he talks about what one of the effects of this is we're going to be trying to get AI to mention our brand instead of trying to show up on Google searches. And then, of course, we have Google's AI search, AI overview now, which is hilarious and gives wrong answers. Some of the time, I don't want to completely smash it. Of course, there are times when it's helpful, but check the information it gives you. Don't take it at face value. So that will be interesting to see how that affects our marketing and specifically our SEO strategies in 2025. But I do want to say, I think the good thing is a lot of the stuff that's working, including the stuff that's going to get AI to mention you and get people to click through to your website from an AI generated response, is the stuff that's been working for a while. Collaborations, personalization, short videos. We have TikTok to thank for that, right? Short videos are here, and they are here to stay, at least for a couple minutes, right? And I've seen that more and more as more people using videos, more people being told they need to use videos, more people reporting the effectiveness of, again, strategically using videos to get in front of their audience, position themselves as thought leaders, educate their audience. Super powerful, especially if they're nice and short. So video marketing, not going anywhere. User-generated content, still really powerful way to get in front of people because it expands your audience because someone else is creating content and putting it on their platform, and now you are getting in front of their audience, and it does so in a way that immediately builds trust and credibility for you because you're not talking yourself up, someone else is talking you up. Super powerful. Quality over quantity still wins. It's not that quantity doesn't matter. It does help if you have a lot of content, but don't think that you can just create a bunch of crappy, low quality content and it's going to get results, because it's not. Fewer pieces of content that are really powerful, strategic, well thought out, in-depth pieces of content, that's what's going to help. Case studies have always been awesome, will continue to be awesome. Keep using them. If you have not used them, start using them for sure. And then take a stand. AI does not have a perspective. AI does not have an opinion. An expert has a perspective. An expert has an opinion. So absolutely, anytime you are creating content or using AI to help you create content, right, make sure that you've got your perspective in there, not only your expertise, but your experience talking about, I saw this, I did this. Again, back to the case studies, right? This is what I did. This is the problem that we had. This is how we solved it. This was the outcome. Having that experience is something AI does not have. And having that perspective is also what's going to position you as an expert in your industry. Because only a true expert, forget about the listicles, forget about, the reports and all that. Only a true expert will be able to take a stand on an issue, to have an opinion and be able to articulate that. And explain why they have that position. So what? Don't forget, and I talked about this in my last video, don't forget to look back at what worked for you, right? Forget about the listicles and the marketing reports, and this is what worked, including what I'm saying, right? If I say, short form videos work and you don't find that short form videos work for you, don't do them anymore. Do something else. So absolutely look at what worked for you. How did you get leads? How did you convert leads? Did you get leads? Did you convert leads? Were you struggling in some of that? And identify the areas where you were struggling so that you can then adapt make those changes and be bigger and better and more awesome in 2025. But I do think you need to take into account AI, specifically AI search, because that's going to have a big effect on the buyer journey and how people find you. So keep an eye out for that. Keep an eye out for where people are finding you and how they're getting to your website. And that's it. That's everything I have for you today. So if you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to me. You can read more about this over on my website, AV, as in my initials, Allison Verhalen. That is avwritingservices.com. And you can reach me directly by shooting me an email at info@avwritingservices.com. That's it. Have a great week and happy blogging, everyone.